Glasses off.
And
Glasses up.
broadcast on. So I'm going to do a 30-second countdown so we can kind of get ourselves situated here. Here we go. Right. Well, welcome everybody. This is my first LinkedIn Live. We got a couple of people here. I see Ted Protomo's here, Jennifer Kapler's here. Nice to see you guys. I want to start off by thanking you. This is our first one. Mark S.A. Smith is our guest today. He is the man, the myth, the legend. He is a leadership expert. He's a CEO whisperer. Whisper in their ears good things. Yes, and we're going to be talking today about marketing concepts, sales concepts, all kinds of stuff. Mark has the distinction and the Guinness Book of World Records. It is in there if you look for the person most on the Bacon podcast. I think you've been on what, 17 times now?
You've invited me back 16 times after the first time we did it. So yes, that makes 17.
Wow, you're not only a leadership coach, but you're good at math too.
Yeah, well, those two do go together.
That's amazing. So tell us a little bit about yourself. But first and foremost, you're originally from Las Vegas, and now you're kind of like nomading around the country. So tell us a little bit about that too.
Yeah, indeed. You know, actually, I call myself an Earthling. When people say, "Where are you from?" I say, "I'm an Earthling from planet Earth," and they always laugh, and it kind of changes the dynamic. And the reality is that I've been paid to work in 54 countries and been to 65. I keep my stuff in Las Vegas, but right now I'm a digital nomad. Mm-hmm. So when the lockdown occurred, I said, nope, we're not going to lock down. We're going to go out. So I loaded everything I needed into a car. I've been living in Airbnbs and interesting places where people don't care so much or have any issues with the lockdown. So I spent a lot of time in interesting places like Montana and Utah and Tennessee, currently in New Orleans. People here are getting ready for Mardi Gras. Of course, there's no parade this year, but what they're doing instead is they're decorating houses like a float, bringing in bands, putting them on the porch. So the parade isn't moving, but the party's moving. So a whole new thing around Mardi Gras in New Orleans. And of course, the idea here is lots of exploration. I want to meet new people, see new things, like Willie Nelson on the road again, seeing things I may never see again. And,
nice.
So, you know, the good news is the work I do can be done from anywhere there's an internet connection. Mm-hmm. And so that's what's going on. Tomorrow I head to Florida. I head to Fort Walton Beach area. And,
nice.
So I'm going to have my toes in the sand for a few months in the Florida area.
So I'm going to have my toes in the snow. Because
you can come down and hang out with me, buddy. You know,
I would love to.
You know, Florida's a free state. It's one of those interesting things. You come to Florida and they're like, "Hey, come on."
Yeah, they love tourism. There's no question about that.
And there's a lot of vacancy.
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
Oh my gosh, I'm paying a fraction of what I normally would pay to stay in Florida for a couple of months. It's just because there's just nobody's going there.
Yeah. And well, you know, these times are changing. That's what we're here to talk about today is all the interesting things. So we got a handful of people. I see Deb Creer joined us, Ted, Bill Gertine. Hello, guys. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks
this is fun.
Thanks
this
for
is
your
our
ideas.
Yeah, no. And if you have any questions as we go along, put them in the chat. Let us know. We'll answer them. So, Mark, tell everybody about you and Bija. Or Bijo, or Bija. The Bij. Talk about the Bij. What is the company
I think probably let's just kind of pop up to the top. I've been involved in bringing disruptive products to market and working with leadership on how do you handle disruption? How do you handle upheaval in the marketplace? And I've done it since 1982. It's the most crazy thing. bringing these crazy products to market that people didn't know about. How do you bring the product to market that nobody knows who to ask Siri
Mm-hmm.
to find for you? You know, how do you market a product that nobody knows who to Google for? And most people, when it comes to marketing, specifically new products and new services that are an empty category, that is, nobody owns that space yet.
Mm-hmm.
SEO doesn't matter because there's nobody searching. So the question becomes then, how do you bring to market these disruptive products? And that's something I've been doing since 1982, and I've learned a heck of a lot along the way. And the Bija was in my third incarnation of the things that I'm doing, and the attempt was to reach out into the healthcare space, specifically alternative healthcare, help them with their marketing. Well, that failed because most marketing campaigns, most marketing programs are disruptive when the first time they reach the customer. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So Bija was a great idea that just really never really went anywhere. The challenge is that most alternative healthcare people don't have any money
Mm-hmm.
to spend on marketing, and they're resistant to the concept of marketing and sales. But done right, marketing and sales it's what you do. Marketing is simply this: creating a relevant conversation with somebody who can use what you sell. That's all
Right.
marketing is: triggering a conversation. Period.
Well, and that's essentially what we're here to talk about is, kind of the blend between marketing and sales.
Mhm.
It's you being more in the sales realm, but in the marketing realm as well.
Yeah.
Me being
Well,
more
customer
in,
acquisition.
yeah. Well, and it's customer relationships too. It's one
Mhm.
thing to acquire them; it's another thing to keep them.
That's
And I
right.
think that's I had a very interesting conversation. Some of the new things I've been playing with this year is Lunch Club.
Yeah.
I think I sent you an invite
They
to
make
that.
sandwiches for that.
They do, yes.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, and they all have
Club
bacon.
sandwiches. Yeah, they do. The club sandwiches all have bacon on
They all have bacon, and it's really super interesting because you basically go on, you sign up. If anybody wants to check it out, just go to baconcoach.com/lunch club. There's an invite there. You can just go and sign up. And what you do is you just meet people all over the world. And I had this great conversation with this one guy. I think he was actually was out of Illinois, and he was a large data guy. He did big data mining and analysis and things like that for huge companies, Procter and Gamble, Yum Brands. I mean, all that kind of fun stuff. And one of the things that he told me was that the companies that were most successful in 2020 were the ones that had a very specific focus, and they were spending 70% of their energy focusing on current and past business relationships.
Yeah,
and
that's your gold mine.
30%, right, and 30% focusing on prospecting and generating new relationships.
Yeah, it's interesting because Jay Levinson, Mr. Guerrilla Marketing,
Mm-hmm.
who I was honored to co-author 3 books with him. I learned a heck of a lot from hanging out with Jay, and his ratio was 50, 40, 10, as I recall. 50% current customers, 40%, 17% of your customers that have left you will come back if you just ask them to come back.
Right.
They left for a reason and they're dissatisfied, but they just haven't. They feel bad that they left and they don't know how to re-engage with you. No kidding, right?
Well, yeah.
And then Jay says 10% new outreach. Actually, I need to take that back. What he said was 50% to your existing customer base, 40% to your target customer base, and 10% to the universe.
Mm-hmm.
He said 10% of your marketing needs to be broad ranging so that you can cast a wider net, but not a lot of money that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there it is. So thank you.
Yeah. And, one of the things, though, is that in the COVID era, it's different. I mean, back when Jay was around, it's been a handful of years, and I know his wife, Jeannie, I've been to conferences with her and stuff, and things have changed. I mean, the internet has changed. COVID has changed. I just did this great interview. It's coming up pretty soon. It's called Timbits in the Virtual World. Do you know what Timbits are?
Timbits. Bring on.
Timbits. T-I-M.
Timbits.
Yeah.
Tell me about Timbits.
Okay, Timbits are
a family show.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. That's Up in Canada, they don't have Dunkin' Donuts. They have Tim Hortons.
Oh yeah.
And
Got it.
Timbits are donut holes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
he
yeah,
talked
yeah.
about how, salespeople would basically grab a box of Munchkins or Timbits and walk them into the office to get meetings.
That was the old days.
Right. And that
Can't do
stuff
that.
is, no, it's a
No.
lot harder to do that nowadays.
And of course, we call those kind of sales guys Joe Bag of Donuts.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So, that's the fun thing about Timbits. And, but he's talking about the way that things have changed, and how, virtually we have to build relationships differently now online,
Yeah.
or try to reconnect with people. And I think one of the other things that happened last year that is huge is a lot of companies let people go, or a lot of people moved companies.
Yeah.
Because they weren't suited to the internet marketing side of things.
Mm-hmm.
They just weren't good on Zoom. They didn't want to get on Zoom. They wanted to get out. They didn't understand the technology.
Bummer.
Yeah, and everybody's got to learn to adapt. But the bottom line is that people have moved, so they've gotten another job. And the thing is I call it follow the bouncing customer. You've got to figure out where those people are, and that's one of the beauties of LinkedIn is that you can go and stay connected with them. Now this is the big if they created their profile using a Gmail or a personal address, because if they did it with the past company, just like email addresses that bounce all the time, this person no longer works here. They did it with their company email and the company let them go. They no longer can log into their accounts. And now all of a sudden they have to go and create a new account. And that becomes a whole mess of trying to merge and do all that kind of fun stuff. Right.
That sounds like there's a business opportunity there.
There is. It's called Find the Bouncing LinkedIn. Or Find the Bouncing Customers.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we were talking about was, in today's world, understanding marketing as a system and the kind of things that we need. And we were talking about the book, The E-Myth Revisited. If anybody hasn't read it, check it out. It's actually my blogs and in my podcasts, I talk about it. It's one of my top 5 books. And inside of that, the concept of the book is that most people that start businesses, from the ground up are technicians. They're good at one thing.
Yes.
And so what happens is as the business starts to grow, they tend to stay in that technical space. And really what they need is 2 other things to grow the business. One is a manager, somebody that can be the traffic cop, hire people, fire people, order supplies, do all the things that we need, take care of shipping. Basically they're the air traffic controller of the business. And then there's the entrepreneur, and that's the person that can envision what's coming, what's happening, where is it going? And what's next? I've talked to so many people over the last year, and it's funny. Mark James and Ellen Huxtable and a few other people I'm in this mastermind with, we did this webinar last year called "Don't Panic, Pivot." And about 2 months after March hit, everybody said, "I hate the word pivot." Now everybody's starting to get back to pivot.
Well, here's one of the problems with the word pivot. Pivot assumes that you have a point to pivot around.
Right.
And what happened with COVID is that we lost our point. We lost our anchor. So part of what we have to do is actually reestablish what's important to us. That becomes our new anchor point. Then we can go find people who find the same thing important to them.
Right.
And so I think pivot is actually a word we need to dispose of in these days of upheaval, because it's not an accurate metaphor anymore.
Yeah.
Because pivot's always around some fixed point that we don't want to abandon.
Right. Well, but there's also pivot from a talent perspective. You have a set core of talent? You can hold that pivot foot. How do you take what you know how to do and, utilize it or spray it in a different way? How do you pass the ball to another person and keep that going? So one of the things about, running a business, we talk about the technician, the manager, and the entrepreneur, but you say that same thing works in the marketing space.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You have to have, fundamentally, the way that sustainable business works, and sustainable is the word here, sustainable. That means that it's going to go for as long as you want it to go. For a sustainable business to work, you have to have 3 levels of thought. And level 1 is strategic. Right? That's the vision for the future. What do I want to create? Who do I want to serve? How do I create unique value for my target market? That's the strategy level that we need to work on. And that answers the question, what are we doing and why the heck are we doing it? Who cares? And the next level is then the sequence. What is the priority? What's the sequence in which we're going to pursue that objective? And you can't get it all done at once, so you have to figure out what is the most important thing first. And there's this interesting concept called sequencing intelligence, where you learn how, or you use certain levels of science, around operations and things of that nature, to figure out what needs to happen first, what happens next, what are the parallel processes. We don't need to dig into it, but the point is there isn't a level of intelligence in how you sequence things. Unfortunately, entrepreneurs tend to do the things they think are easiest first, which actually blows up the concept of sequence intelligence. And then the third level is tactical implementation, which is how do we actually get this thing done? So sequence is answering the questions where and when. And then we have the tactical deployment, the work, the rubber hitting the road, and that's who and how. Who's going to do this? How are they going to get it done? Those are the fundamental three levels of how we implement all business plans. And when it comes to marketing, we do the same thing. So the marketing strategy is who we're going to reach to. Okay, who is our market? Who's our target market? Who's going to buy this stuff? And if you want a company that is going to be absolutely rock solid, sustainable forever, you pick a market, and then you create a relationship with that market, and then you supply that to that market exactly what they want. And so that's the concept of a market product fit. So you find the market, then you build the product to fit the market. And the idea here is that the products you create are then going to have motivational alignment. What a cool word, motivational alignment with your market, which means they're going to be, there it is. I was waiting for that. Yay. And the way most people do it is they reverse it. They create a product. Hey, I got this great idea. I know we can solve this problem. And they create a product and they take it out to the market. People are like, meh, don't care. Or they don't have enough money to round up the noise that need to make the noise for people to go, oh, that's interesting. And the challenge is that people are willing to accept small amounts of incremental change if they are unhappy with their current vendor. They're not going to switch vendors. Better the devil you know than the devil you don't know, except for extraordinary value increases that they could trust. The problem is with new vendors, we don't trust them. And so there's this really, really steep curve to bringing new products to market if the market doesn't know you. So that's a product market fit, and that's always an uphill battle. And the idea here is let's flip this around, making a market product fit. Find a market that loves you, and then feed them products that that they can say yes to. So that's one way that we can amplify this. So strategy, right? I just broke into a strategy conversation. Do we do market product fit? Do we do product market fit? That's a strategic decision that you make. So that level of strategy, who are we going after? Why are we going after them? What are we going to build for them? What kind of relationship do we want with them? Is a strategic level conversation, and that has to happen at the owner level, the CEO level, kind of situation. Whoever is responsible for the execution of the organization needs to make those kind of decisions with the perspective of their team. You got to have the perspective. Then the next level is, okay, how are we going to roll this out? That's a management level type of situation where you have the sequence intelligence in play. The management is smart enough to figure out, okay, what do we first, what do we do second, what can run in parallel, what is a continuous process, what is an event. All of those things are a management level thinking quality. And that can be in-house if you're big enough, or it could be outsourced if you're not. And by the way, this is not something the entrepreneur should do. No.
Right.
Most entrepreneurs do not have the skills or the sequence intelligence to figure out how to do this. And you need to outsource to somebody who does this professionally, do it every day, and they do it for your target market. The challenge, and we've talked about this before in other Bacon podcasts, is there's four fundamental ways to go to market, four fundamental ways to sell, and they're all very different. And if you get them wrong, it won't work. And if you get it right, it works brilliantly and perfectly every time. And it has to do with how your customers approach purchasing what you're selling. That determines which one of the four models that we choose. We don't have time to go into that in this moment, but maybe another time. But the idea here is you want to work with somebody who has the sequence intelligence and knows how to go after those.
Right.
And then the third thing is tactical deployment. So who's building the website? Who's writing your sales copy? Who's doing your SEO? Who's putting together the flyers? Are you doing email? Are you doing mail marketing? I mean, direct marketing right now is quite interesting, except the thing is we don't know where to send it. Everybody's working out of their house.
Right.
You send it to the company and it gets thrown away because nobody's getting mail anymore. So there are solutions to that. They're fairly expensive, but I tell you what, if you can get on that train, and be sending things to their home, marketing materials to their home, things get really magical pretty quickly because there's, oh, I wonder what's in the mail today.
Right.
Anything to break the boredom of Zoom. God's sake.
Yes, we've all become zombies.
And we have become zoom. So those are the 3 levels that we need to approach: strategy, sequence management, and then tactical deployment. Tactical deployment should always be outsourced.
Right.
And the reason why is because that's something that is so ephemeral. It just keeps changing every moment, every day.
Well, and there's 3 core problems with what you're talking about. Okay, the first one being the strategy, and I've seen a lot of times internal people follow what the leadership says they want to do, whether it's right or wrong.
So they don't necessarily know what's right or wrong. That's
right, exactly. So a lot of times you hire somebody who is a CMO. And the CMO is following best practices, but they have their world, their niche. Are they being current?
They following best practices for the target market?
Right,
exactly. There's
exactly.
a challenge. For example, in the model that I was sharing with you, there's one of the go-to-market approaches is consumer packaged goods. That's
right.
where you do all the selling on the package. Another part of the model is mission critical. That's things such as software, computer servers, infrastructure, things like that. And they're radically different approaches because mission critical is you have to do a diagnostic. You have to find out what they want to do because you're building essentially a semi-custom or a custom product for them or installing and supporting it in a custom way. And so it's a radically different approach. Short decision-making cycle, long decision-making cycle between the two of them. Now, one of the largest distributors of computer hardware and software hired the CMO from Procter & Gamble. What do you think happened?
Failure.
It was a massive disaster.
Yeah. 2 completely different mindsets, audiences, concepts, buying, decisions, everything about it is just
more importantly, best practices are radically different.
Right. Exactly.
But she came in with her full confidence, expecting to use what she knew and what worked and bringing it to this marketplace. And these people hired her thinking, hey, she's really a hotshot CMO. And they just did not realize that you have to go to market in different ways depending on how people buy what you're selling. Yeah, it was an absolute disaster. It didn't last long. She had great ideas. They just didn't apply.
But see, that's part of the strategy is understanding what's hot, what's not. And one of the things have you been in Clubhouse yet?
You sent me an invitation. I popped in there briefly, but I have not. I'm still a Clubhouse virgin.
Well, I can't say I blame you. I mean, today I was a LinkedIn Live virgin. But you helped me chop my Perry, chop my Perry, pop my cherry. You know what I mean? But the bottom line is that, Clubhouse,
you're doing pretty damn good, pal, for
thank you.
The first time.
Well, the concept. I've been doing video for years, and so this stuff isn't that big. But the thing about Clubhouse is there's kind of like 3 camps. There is the camp that said, oh my God, here's a new platform. Let's jump on it and let's use it like we did everything else. So what you get is all the people that did the, but wait, there's more buy now webinars are creating rooms and they're standing up there. And I was talking with a guy yesterday in England. I'll share something with you in a little bit. I was talking with him. He goes, I went in there and I felt like I was like in the middle of an evangelical church thing. He was saying, somebody was screaming, who wants to make 7 figures? Who wants to make 8 figures? Who wants to make 9 figures? Raise your hand right now. It's like, they're just like basically selling the same stuff. Buy my book, buy my crap, that other thing. There are other rooms where people are trying to be thought leaders and they're getting in there and they're, just answering questions and being, helpful. But the other thing I saw in one of those rooms was somebody who was a LinkedIn expert went into a room when somebody was talking about how to find great LinkedIn customers on Pinterest. Because that's all she knew was Pinterest. And I'm going, no.
No.
And then the third camp are the people that are 100% addicted to it and do nothing but go into Clubhouse all day and bounce from room to room to room because they like to be on stage. They want to ask a question. They want to get known. They want to get followed. So there are people that are trying to get more followers. There are people that are trying to give some value. And then there's the sales pitchy people, and that's what happens inside a Clubhouse. But, what's interesting about it.
Well, you sold me.
Yeah, I know. But let me give you the value of it.
All right.
You know, the value of it is I've been going into rooms and I've been listening to some people, more of the, you know, the talky rooms, and I found some great podcast guests. As a matter of fact, one of the things, well, let me start with this first. I want to start with this one shot here. And this is, if this comes up, will this work? There we go. There we go. Had to double click. So for those of you who have not been to the Bacon Podcast recently, Mark has done 17 different podcasts, all great concepts. If you want to learn more about some of those things, check that out. But let me go to this this thing that I found. And one of the people that I met has this company called Be Live. All right. And what it does is basically it does gamification. All right. So the gamification is somebody comes in, and I'm just playing with this. So it's not active. It doesn't work, but somebody can go in and actually plug in their information. They can get on your email list and stuff like that and submit it. And then once they do that, then they get the opportunity to either spin a wheel, do a scratch off, do something like that. And they hit the spin button and it tells them whether they won or not. So, oops,
Hey,
you're a winner. You've been mugged. Okay.
this is
So
Vegas.
yeah. So the way that the reason it became important was because I was on a client meeting and my client's vendor was saying, have you guys tried gamification? And I said, you know, I know of it. I know a little bit about it. And then all of a sudden I interviewed somebody and had the chance to actually go and play with this kind of stuff. So it's a good educational space as well. And I think that's, you know, one of the things is the person doing the strategy a thought leader? Are they out there on the cutting edge? Are they trying things? Are they learning things? Are they doing new things? Are they just using, like you said, you know, a software person going into a foods place, trying to market, you know, because they understand marketing, right?
Well, they understand marketing is probably the most misunderstood word on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Because what does marketing mean? Well, it means all kinds of things. It is a huge umbrella to cover lots of things. I want to talk about gamification. I want to come back to marketing, and we also have a couple of questions that I want to.
Yeah, absolutely. Please.
We want to give our people what they came for here. So gamification works if your target market is a gamer.
Right.
Pure and simple. I mean, my target market is CEOs. Gamification makes CEOs no, we're not doing that.
Right.
And versus if you're selling to somebody who loves to game, then this adds that next level of fun and pleasure. So part of what we have to establish here is that true leaders are creating a future that does not yet exist, using methods that have not yet been invented, where best practices have yet to be established. So a lot of what we're doing is truly exploring incrementally, but we can use psychographics to get a really good idea of how to create motivational alignment with our customers and our target market. And today, if you tap into the right database, the right big data person, he can tell you exactly how to reach out to the people you want to have access to. And he doesn't even need your data. You just have to tell him who do you want to sell to, and he'll say, oh, well, these people like to do this, and the way we're going to get them is through this. You know, for example, if we find that we're selling let's say insurance, and we find out that we have a lot of people, we've sold a lot of insurance to people who like to scuba dive and ski. That's interesting. And so we know that people who like to scuba dive are, number one, risk aware and accepting. So they'll accept the risk. They'll dive into water that can kill them. Right. And skiers, and they're planners, and same thing for skiers. Skiers like to plan. They pull out the map and they figure out where they're going to go, and they figure out where they're going to be for lunch. And so they tend to have longer range planning cycles than others. What that means is that we can be a little more sophisticated and also a little more edgy with the people who are risk accepting.
Right. And the thing about skiers is they don't have a fear of immovable objects like these trees.
That's it. Same thing, not afraid of sharks, right? So we can get a lot of really interesting information today that we could never get before. Because you have a dossier on you, Brian, so do I, that is extremely rich because of all the data scraping and data mining and such clever ways of figuring out who's what, who's where from IP addresses.
But see, now we're getting into such a big space, and this is where the big boys play. The smaller people, the average small company don't have those resources, or they're not utilizing the concept of those resources.
Right. Well, let's start with the concept, right? Who are you? You define your people as well as you possibly can. The fancy word for that is avatar.
Right.
But you really what you really want to do is break down to that level of motivation. What motivates these people every day? Then we create the motivational alignment with our marketing conversation.
Right.
That's really ultimately where we need to be.
But it starts with understanding that you have to segment the data from day one.
Absolutely.
And what happens is that people get in there and they start selling and they just start delivering and they start doing things, and they got this data sitting in multiple places.
Mm-hmm.
They have it in their ERP, their CRM, their email marketing, their social media, and all these other things. And they don't define it. They don't sit down and say, this person is in the beverage business, the medical business. They are a, high level employee. They are a, where do they fit? What you have to get down to that gut level of each one of these people and start to segment it so that your marketing has a target to go to. Because the problem with most marketing efforts, especially in the small business sense, is they play spray and pray. Just get it out there and hope that whoever sees it is going to pick up on what I'm selling and buy it.
Well, folks, spray and pray at one time did work. Today, it is a disaster. And one of the reasons why is one of my big data colleagues who I tap into for my massive insights on what customers are going to buy. He tells me that right now between 50 and 80% of online advertising is never seen by a human being. Mm-hmm. It's all Russian click farms that are stealing clicks and collecting money. The good news is there's technology we can use to detect that, even though they're very clever using spoofing and VPNs and IP and all that stuff. There's still ways that we can figure that out. So there's ways of blocking that, but most people today waste enormous amounts of money because of the click fraud that is ubiquitous. Friend, if you are doing online advertising, you are getting stolen from the Russian mob and the Chinese mob for that matter too. But we have to be a whole lot smarter. And that's why you have to outsource. You can't do stuff yourself. It's such a radical moving target. You have to understand your customer. And what I really like about what you're saying here is you focus on your customer data so you know how to find more people like them. Mm-hmm. And this is the first step to having a market product fit conversation. So you're gathering people who have an experience with you, who trust you, who like you, and you can reach out to and say, what would you like next? And now, not only do I know what to build for them that they're going to buy, but I also know how to find more just like them to expand my market on people who have the highest probability of saying yes. So what you're saying here is absolutely spot on. We got to do the flip. Now, to do that, though, you have to change the way you sell.
Right.
Now, the traditional way of selling is features, advantages, and benefits. Hey, I've got this great feature, and here's the advantage you're going to take and the benefits you're going to have. Well, fab selling is an attempt to map the product to somebody's motivation. That is assuming they want the features and the advantages and the benefits that you're pitching. Mm-hmm. The problem is if they don't want even a subset of those, then you create this, that's not quite what I'm looking for.
Or they don't even know what they're looking for.
Well, that's it. In fact, one of our viewers says, how about triggering for startups? So how do we trigger conversations for startups? Mm-hmm. And that's a really great question.
Right.
And the answer is that most startups have a completely backward, broken approach, and that's one of the reasons why only 1 out of 30 startups actually make it.
Right.
And VCs keep funding them for whatever reason. Maybe it's arrogance. I don't know. It's their money. They can do whatever they want with it. But the reality is that when I work with small companies and they've got this product, they say, Mark, help us bring this product to market. And I said, great. How much have you invested in this product, in this market, in building this thing? We got about $7 million into it, about 10 years of research, about $7 million into it. And I said, okay, so what's your marketing budget for this? Mm-hmm. Well, about $5,000.
Yeah, right.
And I said, dude, this is going nowhere. What are you talking about? It's great. Better than sliced bread. Well, that's fine if people are buying something better than sliced bread. You know who to sell this thing to, but you don't. Mm-hmm. And you don't have enough money to go out and figure out, it's all backwards. My belief is that if you're kicking off a startup, you need 1/3 of your money to product development. 1/3, just 1/3.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because all you need is a minimum viable product to find out if you've got a market for it. And then you need to have 1/3 of your marketing of your money in marketing. Even before you come up with releasing the product, you have to round up likely people to sell this to who are going to accept your conversation when he says, hey, I've got something really cool for you.
Right.
So what that means is you better be spending money accumulating a tribe around the interest that your product is going to solve, even though you're not going to be talking about your product until the product's ready. But you have to have this audience of people that want to hear what you have to say.
Right.
All right. Now, that's a really radical idea, and a lot of people don't like it. But how the hell else are you going to do market product fit? You got to have a market to sell your product to.
Right.
And then you need about 1/3 of your money to do deep customer research. And so the idea here is that you bring on a customer advisory board of people who are going to buy what you have, and then you spend a lot of time and a lot of money with them picking their brains and figuring out how to co-create a future together. Now, this is a radical idea yet, but that's what you got to do. I mean, otherwise you're going to find those people where, you have a 3% probability of making it.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Well, and to kind of build on what you said, you know that Betty White was born, I think, 1924.
Mm-hmm.
Sliced bread was invented 1925. I may have my years wrong. So
You're
basically,
close.
Sliced bread is the best thing since Betty White.
It is.
And
Betty White bread.
Exactly. But I think one of the key things that too is missing through all of this is the measurement part. So you talked about, understanding the segmenting, but the measurement is so important. Yeah. And what I find is that a lot of companies outsource their measurement, okay, to the people that are doing the service. Okay. So let me put it this way. If you were getting your car repaired, what you normally look at is, did they clean the car? They clean the inside of the car. They make it nice. They do the armor all on the steering wheel and shine up everything and make it look good, because you have no idea what happened under the hood, right?
No, you have no idea.
Right. So if the car looks really nice, you feel like you got good service, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the exact same thing with data. Is the companies that are doing the service may not even know what parts to put in. They may have just basically tweaked something and not really fixed the problem, but they put the armor all on and they hand you this thing called the report. Mm-hmm. And the report tells you, look how great you're doing. Mm-hmm. Look at all the hits you've got. Look at all this wonderful information that we're giving you, telling you how successful you are. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite stories that I tell is I can get anybody on the internet 1 million visitors in a day for $500. There's only 2 problems with that. First is you have to convert your website to Russian and Farsi. And secondly, nobody's ever going to buy from you.
Right. Exactly. It's so I really like this. Let's talk about measurement for a moment, because measurement is critical. You have to know numbers if you're going to be leading a company, because the numbers tell you the story.
Right.
They are it. And remember, math is just a language. If anybody who says, oh, I can't stand math, it just means you haven't learned the language. Math is just a language.
Right.
That's all it is. And it's one of the best languages in the world because it's consistent. P-E-A-R, pear. Well, what does that mean? The fruit, to cut something, to trim something, to put something together. English is the craziest thing compared to math. Anyway, math allows us to figure out what's going on. The numbers do not lie, although you can lie about the numbers. And for a lot of people, they choose key performance indicators, KPIs, as a way of trying to run the company. In fact, I just saw an article the other day that rounded up 35,000 key performance indicators across a lot of industries. And my thought is, wow, 35,000. You sure you don't need one more?
Yeah, right.
It's actually way too many. It's overkill, because people get confused with the data. Really, all you need is about 10 key performance indicators for your entire company. And one of those key performance indicators is about you and your satisfaction with the company. Are you happy? Because if you're not happy, we need to do some work. An unhappy owner does not have a happy business. It does not work. So you need to actually I like to start when I work with my CEOs. Are you happy? No. Okay. Well, why not? Because you cannot create unless you're happy.
Right.
If you're angry, all you can do is destroy. You cannot build. And so, solve for mindset first. Leadership 101, solve first for mindset. Always, 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 always. First thing you do is solve for mindset.
Absolutely.
And so So the idea here is you need a smaller number of key performance indicators. And I like to have a combination of performance indicators as well as prediction indicators, KPIs, prediction indicators, and performance indicators. A prediction indicator is going to give you an idea of what the future is going to look like. And a performance indicator is a report of how well you've done. And you need both, because if you don't have a prediction indicator, it's like all of your key KPIs are driving your car through the rear view mirror.
Right.
We got to have a dash. We have to have a windshield, and that's what the key performance indicators are. And so key performance indicators are things such as how many leads have you brought in this month? That's a marketing indicator, right? How many leads have come in? So that's one, but it's not good enough. The question is, how many of those leads converted into conversations? How many conversations did you have this month is way better than how many leads did you have this month?
Right.
Way, 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 way better, because we have an now in action. Conversations can usually be translated into future sales,
right?
As far as a prediction, it's one of the best ways to do that, and so if you're doing it right, half of your conversations are going to turn into sales. And just the other way of doing it is that if only 10% of them turn into sales, you're either marketing the wrong team or your product fit is incorrect. There's other things that could contribute to that, but we won't go to that now. And the thing is that if you close 90% of the business with every conversation, it means that you're undercharging.
Right. You're
not charging enough. I mean, if you close everybody, you're too cheap. Write that down.
Yeah.
Marketing 101. If you're sold out, raise your prices. Don't leave money on the table. So
yeah, and one of the things that builds upon what you had to say is that 98.75% of all statistics are made up to benefit the statisticians, and 63.2% are made up on the spot. So,
well done.
A lot of these numbers, it depends on the business. It depends on the modalities. It depends on what they're doing and how they're, doing things. I think the key thing that you brought up was the system. And that's what I like is you have marketing. That marketing leads to conversations. That conversations leads to sales. Now, sometimes that marketing may lead to a conversation and somebody's not ready to buy.
Yeah, sure.
Right. It's just not the time. They're exploring, they're looking at things. They're trying to say, basically they're kicking the tires. Okay. But the key thing is that if they don't buy at that point, what a lot of people do is they say, okay, they didn't buy. Go on. Let's move to the ones that are hot, and so they're trying to close those deals. What has to happen though is you have to figure out, okay, if they're not ready to buy, where are they in the buying cycle?
Well, actually, let's you're absolutely right. Let's improve that a little bit.
Okay, go ahead.
It's not a buying cycle. It's a consideration cycle.
Well, yeah. Okay? I mean, that's very true.
It's what do they have to think about? What do they have to justify? Who do they have to persuade?
Right.
And if you have a product that has a very short consideration cycle, such as anything under $20 at Walmart, all right, single call, and if they don't buy, move on.
Right.
But if you have a longer consideration cycle, that just is the first touch of what's going to create the trust to purchase from you. So
right. Well, that's a big difference between consumer and B2B too. I mean, consumer is pretty much people make decision. They buy, this brand of toilet paper this day. They buy that brand that day. But they're always going to buy toilet paper. It's just a matter of which brand they choose.
Well,
when it comes to B2B, the one thing you taught me, the one line that you said that changed my life is when you fail your customer, they lose their job.
Yes. That's right.
And that's the biggest fear that a CMO, a CEO, a CFO, a CIO, a CTO, all these people have is don't get me fired.
That's right. All business to business decisions have a career impact, whether conscious or subconscious. And when you are aware that this is indeed the case, you will change your sales behavior to make sure that your customer is wildly successful and will win a promotion from the work you've done together. That is, if you can take that approach in B2B sales, you will make so much money, and you will have customers that will never buy from anybody else ever again,
right?
Because you become a partner. But yes, indeed, that is indeed the case. Now, that also applies though to B2C, but the difference is divorce, right?
Right.
Marriages stay intact because both partners consistently make good decisions. They make They use good judgment on a consistent basis, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, they say, no, not one more beer with the boys. I'm heading back to my favorite person on the planet. That's a good decision versus one more and you're driven home in a cop car. That's not a good idea. And
Right.
so it's still there. You know, all divorces are because somebody just didn't make good decisions. And the same thing for B2B, and that is every buyer is going to get a promotion based on illustrating consistently good judgment, because their boss will never invite anybody into their level that can't make consistently good judgment, because it's going to impact their career.
Right.
So what we have to do is help people make the good judgment on a consistent basis, and when you can view it from that side, it's really important. Now, there's an ancillary to this. All right, Adam, you're going to love this one. Okay, you ready? All right. So people ask me on a regular basis, Mark, how can I beat my competition? And you're asking the wrong question, because the real question is, how can you help your customer beat their competition?
Right.
Because when you do that, you have no competitors.
Mm-hmm.
And so flipping how you view your market changes everything. Focus on the market, not the product. The product just happens to be a way of making money from the market. But the market is the one that you want to serve. Those are the people you want to create the relationships. And that's what your marketing is really all about, is that.
Mm-hmm.
You got to flip that around. Yeah.
So let's go back to the original thing, and maybe you can tap on some of the questions that are there too. The original thing was the strategist, the manager, the technicians.
That's right. The tacticians.
The tacticians, right? I call them technicians, but so you have this strategy. The strategy is ever evolving. The manager adapts to those changes, and then basically you bring in the right players to do the things that you need.
Yeah.
It's a couple of years ago, everything was Facebook and Facebook ads and everything. And as you said, it's evolved, it's changed, it's turned into a click farm. It doesn't work as well as it does. It's primarily B2B. It's not, or B2C. It's not B2B. Google ads were huge for the longest time. That becomes harder and harder and harder. My favorite Google ad stories, I worked with I actually won an award back in 2009 for a website design that was really super simple.
Ooh.
And it goes to the core of what you're talking about. And it was for a tow truck company.
Mm-hmm.
When do you need a tow truck?
When you are stuck.
Right. Okay.
I need a truck.
So his website had the phone number on a phone. I'm going to move this over. So the phone number was at the top, and it was done in Flash, which didn't work on an iPhone, which means that you couldn't see the phone number. It was like, as soon as you come up on an iPhone, his website wouldn't show any contact information.
Yeah.
So the first thing we did is revamp the website, make it super simple. And then the other thing that we did is we put a button right at the top that says "in trouble, click here." And what it would do is auto dial the phone.
Yeah.
And the reason it won the award was because exactly that is, if you're in trouble, all you need to do is look at that, get to, find where you're at, find the tow truck company, hit the button, it dials them. It was just super, it obviously meets the need of what was there.
That's right.
As we progress, he says, okay, now I want to now that I've got a great website and I'm starting to get some traffic and I'm making some money, now I want to do some Google ads. I said, okay, fine. So we bought a Google ad for his local company, and it was $2. Well, the company over in Naperville, which is one town over and much bigger, decided, well, he can't be number one, so we're going to bid $3. So then my customer bid $4, and then it went $5 and $6. And finally I said, stop it, be number two. Because the bottom line is, what you've done is you've just taken something you're paying originally 50 cents for and now paying $6 for the exact same thing.
Yeah. Well, there's a great example of blindness to the objective.
Right.
You can make a hell of a lot of money being number two when somebody else is paying $6 and you're paying 50 cents.
Right.
They're going to have capture a lot more clicks, and it's not necessarily number one that people click on.
Right.
It's who amongst those choices best resonates with them.
And I have another number two story. All right.
Well, you're selling toilet paper math.
Exactly. Yes. Well, I've had a lot of dogs, and when years ago when we got Buddy Guy, who is no longer with us, God rest his soul.
God rest his soul.
Great dog. I would pay my kid $1 a pile to go in the backyard and pick up dog poop.
Hey.
And he
pick up a pile and make a buck.
That's right. It was $1 a pile. The first week he did it, he made $10. Second week he didn't do it. Third week he didn't do it. Fourth week, and now I had 40 piles. And so finally, I went online and I found, the local pooper scooper.
Yeah.
who said to me, "Hey, for $10, we'll come clean your yard. The first time's going to be $30 for the initial cleaning, and it's $10 a week." And I said, "You're going to come once a week and do it, and you're going to be consistent, and I don't have to worry about it. Done deal." And so it did two things. Number one, it was the right service at the right time, and they did the thing that I need. And the bottom line is if I went out and did it with the scooper, it would take me a half hour to find them. Because you'd have to, basically be out there with a headlight looking, okay, is that a leaf or poop? These people, they know their
They're
poop.
professional.
They're professional poop scoopers, and they know their stuff. And that yard was clean every single time. So for $10, I didn't even have to worry about it. They showed up whether I was here or not. They got the dog poop and they took care of the thing. And that was, and the bottom line is that's what your business has to do. It has to solve a problem.
Yeah.
It has to make it so that it's convenient, it's cost effective, and it's something that you don't even think about anymore. It's like, I paid them for years and years and years and years. And she actually sold the company to a franchise, and the franchise took over, and, it just kept going and going and going. I never stopped that service from the original person.
And you paid them $480 a year,
right,
to pick up piles,
right.
And you don't need a lot of those kind of things to really make a hell of a business,
right. And well, she had 500 customers in the area, so I do the math.
There you go.
There's a lot of money in poop.
$5,000 a month for picking up poop,
right?
Yeah, it's probably more fun and more interesting than most corporate jobs.
Yes. Not so much fun in the snow, of course. Because they're poop sickles.
Yeah.
Right.
Look at that. We're fun with them. I know.
All right. Do we got any questions? Anybody want to ask anything while we're here?
I actually want to go back to the Facebook user who said, how about triggering for startups? We gave him a quick little idea around, well, look, you need to spend money on marketing before you even come to market. And what I really need to give you a little more information about that, and that is, you may already have a product, and your question is, okay, how do we start conversations with people when they don't even know what we are and what we're doing? Well, the answer to that is you stop selling the product and you start selling the need, and lead with the need instead. So what is the need that you fulfill? What is the want that it is that you are delivering on? But people don't know that you have that as a methodology. And there's an old game I used to play when I was doing sales training with people. And, you win the lottery and you can spend money and you can go on a vacation and you can go anywhere you want, but you can't tell people where you want to go. So you have the travel agent who's playing the travel agent to interview you about what do you want that experience to be like. And so you're sitting there and you're dreaming about the experience. And then the travel agent says, okay, I've got a perfect place for you. And they describe what it is. Would you like to go? You want to book your tickets. And neither of them have exchanged places that they have in mind. And in my experience, only 1% of the people that experienced that had the same place in mind. And the whole point here is that if you can meet somebody's criteria, you can sell them something other than what they initially had in mind. That's the whole idea behind sales is you're trying to accomplish this. You've been doing it this way. And I have a way that you haven't considered before that may allow you to do it in a way that's even better for you. It may be less expensive. It may be faster. It may be cleaner. It may be higher prestige. It may accomplish multiple things at the same time. So that's how we sell products that people don't know, is you sell the outcome. You sell what they want without talking about the product whatsoever. Because the moment you bring up the product, they're like, I don't need that, because they have no idea how to judge the value of that product against their past experience. So instead, what you have to do is you have to tap into the value of their experience and say, I got something that can do this even better. That's how you sell new products that people have never seen before. And so pull the product out of the mix, talk about the need, talk about the want.
And, the bottom line, I think, with all of this stuff, and this goes back to, and we've got about 10 minutes left too, a little less than that too. So I want to kind of wrap this up and give people, obviously we're going to be doing this next week with somebody else. Mark, you will definitely be back on this show.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Cause we basically, if we were a scratch off and it was one of those $100 tickets, where you could scratch off all the numbers, you only hit the first square.
Yeah, right.
You know, there's still probably 80 squares to go. But I think the key,
we can do this all year long.
we could, but we originally, when we first did the podcast, said we probably do a weekly show together and never run out of material.
We would never run out of material. No.
Yeah. And so I think that the other thing that I think that's key important, because I know there's a lot of people here who are in the sales business.
Mm-hmm.
And leadership teams, you know, we understand the difference between inside sales, boots on, you know, inside sales, taking leads and handing them off to the outside salespeople, which are the boots on the ground and all that other stuff. Mm-hmm. What is the biggest challenge that you see companies with leadership trying to direct their salespeople to get the job done the way they want? Because I see this kind of like, you know, epic battle between, I want to fulfill orders. I don't want to deal with new people. I just want to basically be an order taker. But there are certain customers I love spending hours on the phone with. So I'll sit and talk to them all the time. Mm-hmm. And you know, the sales manager, the ownership is saying, I need you to, you know, go out there and kick the bushes and find some new people and do some new stuff and let them know about our new products and services and all these other things. And so there's this epic battle between, I like the status quo, this is comfortable for me, and hey, things are different. We need to, you know, be able to adapt to what's going on. So talk about that from a leadership standpoint, and then talk about it from the salesperson standpoint.
All right, good. I like that. I appreciate that. In the work that I've done with my clients, sales issues are almost always based in culture problems for the company. Mm-hmm. And that is that the culture of the company is either not defined, so the salespeople each have their own independent culture, which is unscalable and unsustainable and really hard to manage customer expectation, because you might have somebody who sells the crap out of people, but customers are really pissed because they can't get a hold of the person when they need to have a problem, because the person doesn't want to talk to people with problems. They want to talk to people that have money. And so one of the first things we have to do is establish our culture. And culture is always about how we treat each other, how we treat our customers. It's what we will do and what we refuse to do. Mm-hmm. And usually there's some cultural overarching cultural theme. For example, I was just doing culture work with one of my clients, and for her company, her cultural theme was honoring. We honor our customers, and which was a really fun thing to create. And we created statements about what does that mean. But you have to come back with, what is the culture of your sales team? How are they approaching this? Then once you have that down, then you can have at least a level of consistency about behaviors that we can then market to. Because marketing is going to be promising a certain customer experience. That sales team has to deliver the leading edge of that experience person to person. So there has to be alignment between those two.
And let me add an and in there.
Yes, please.
The salespeople are talking to the customers. They know the questions, they know the objections that the customers are asking and talking about. Yeah. That information needs to be shared with the marketing side.
Right on.
So that marketing creates the information that helps them to fulfill what it is the customers are asking.
Right on. You know, and if you have a consistent set of objections, there's going to be one of two reasons why that's there. Number one is you're saying things that are objectionable. Mm-hmm. Stop it. The second is because that there is a mismatch between what customers need to hear to feel comfortable and say yes, and what you're taking to the marketplace. So there's a motivational misalignment. And so if one way that you can think about objections are an illustration of motivational misalignment. What the customer finds motivating and what you've offered them are two different things. We can fix that. We can fix it in the marketing world. We can fix it in the sales world through training. Mm-hmm. So yes, we have to have that marketing and sales alignment, and understand that objectives are just symptoms of something that's out of alignment. There we go.
Right. It's a beautiful thing. All right. So I mean, again, we tapped on so many things, and can you believe it's been an hour? I mean,
I can't believe it's been an hour. It's been so much fun.
Yeah, and this is just first I want to thank everybody who showed up live. I want to thank everybody who's watching the replay.
And thank you for your kind comments here too. We had some really nice comments here. So
no, and I was going to thank the audience for their comments and questions and things like that. This is my first time. The reason you see me bouncing around is because I've got 7 screens here. And I'm trying to watch, the Facebook live feed just to see if there's any questions or anything that I'm missing, because I'm, I can see that some are coming in and again, trying to manage this and learn it. And this is all brand new to me. This is the first time doing it. So, but I feel like it went really well because I had the greatest guest I could possibly kick it off with. And I mean that with all my heart, because I know you could talk for 2 hours straight and I could just sit here and basically go walk the dog and you would still entertain people. So in case that works, first and foremost, I want people to go and definitely go to the Bacon Podcast. Listen, Mark has so many great podcasts. Just go search Mark S.A. Smith. He talks about disruption. He talks about mindset. He talks about reputation. There's so many great podcasts in there. We have so many great conversations. So definitely go check that out. The other thing is, Mark, if they want to get a hold of you, obviously LinkedIn is probably a good way to do it, right?
Yeah, LinkedIn's a great way to get a hold of me. We can just get started. Well, so Mark's on LinkedIn.com, MARKS on LinkedIn.com will take you directly to my LinkedIn profile. Don't use HTTPS because it's a redirect. Just type it in, it'll take you to me. My email address is mark.smith, mark.smith at bijaco, bijaco.com. You might need that to connect with me, and if you do, that's a really great way of doing it. And I've got a couple things coming up that if you'd like to participate, let's have a conversation. Number one is I do have a slot open for a CEO Whisperer coaching slot. And if you're looking for help to grow your company sustainably, scalably, profitably, and ultimately salably, let's have a conversation. And we can talk about your objectives, and we can talk about how I can help you. So I love to do that. That's my favorite thing to do, is be the CEO Whisperer, help people really accelerate in their career. We're going to do that through leadership principles as well as the business acumen that you and I have been chewing on today.
Absolutely.
The second thing is that I am putting together a year-long program called Make More six-plus figure deals. And this is part of the development of my next book, which we haven't talked about.
Next show.
next show. Yeah.
We're going to talk pirates.
Yeah. Pirates are the next book. And so it's a year-long program where you become the case study, and we will work to close at least one six-figure deal plus figure deal together. And it's a mastermind approach. So we have 12 people in the session, and we're all working together to put together six-figure deals. I'm going to teach you exactly what I've learned to put together seven-figure deals. And I've done this in the high-tech world many, many times for my clients. So this is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about how do you do this, make it as a system. So if you find that interesting, ping me and we can have a conversation. It's it's actually quite cost effective. It's $1,000 a month to be a part of it.
I just say,
and you can get six-figure, and you're going to get a six-figure deal, or we'll work with you until we do.
Yeah, and just bottom line is just ping Mark. Have a conversation with him. Find out how he can help you one way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Mark's not only a great guy, but a great connector too. So
thank you. Yes.
I want to thank you for taking time out of your Saturday morning to do this, sir. It's a pleasure having you on. You are just a wealth of knowledge and a fun guy to talk to. You're probably from another mother. And
that's it.
With that being said, I'm going to play us out with our opening and the broadcast. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat station, 10 a.m. with another guest, and we'll see what happens. And Mark, I'm sure I'll have you on in February sometime.
I look forward to that.
Thank you, sir. All right, talk soon.